All right, everybody, we're back this week for UFC Vegas 114. I'm going to try to make this video quick. It's not going to be as long and drawn out as some of the other breakdowns, but I want to get this out today because if I don't, then there's really no point in doing it. But I want to get an actual picks video out for you. Obviously, you can get my picks on the YouTube Shorts on my channel because I did one for every fight I'm going to be breaking down. But yeah, let's start off in the bantamweight division. Elijah Smith versus Suyoung. Yeah, I think both these guys are pretty green. I think that there's a grappling edge on the side of Suyoung, and I think if he does have success with the takedowns early, he'll probably have success late. I think that the only way Suyoung really wins this fight is to get a lot of takedowns, ride out top control time, look for, I would say look for submissions, but I feel like if he gets a lot of takedowns, he's not going to really look for submissions. He's going to land a little bit of ground and pound and just try to win off of control time. On the feet, I think it's competitive, but I like Elijah Smith's striking. I like his jab. I think his straight punches are better. And I think the reason why I'm going to take Elijah Smith here to win is I just feel like he's the better athlete. I think that he's more explosive. I think he's faster. I think he's going to have the better cardio, as long as he doesn't get ridden out for the first like 7-8 minutes and can't get back up to his feet. I think he's going to be the one who's going to be able to stuff the takedowns better as the fight goes on once he gets up and works his get-up game off the cage and digs his underhooks and goes back to the center. And in the striking, I think Suyoung is an okay striker, but I think the speed and explosiveness of Elijah Smith is going to be a little bit too much. I think he's going to have a tough time in the first round, but when we get into that second and third, that's where the athleticism and the cardio is going to take over, and I think Elijah Smith's going to start to beat up Suyoung on the feet. He's going to draw out those takedown attempts. I think he's going to get on top eventually and finish him with ground and pound. I'm going to take Elijah Smith to win via late second round ground and pound TKO over Suyoung, and let's move to the next one. All right, next up in the bantamweight division, you got the UFC debut of Hecher Sosa, who beat Maxim Lee on the Contender Series, taking on Luan Lacerda. So I actually backed Luan Lacerda to beat Cody Stamann, and I think he was a pretty big underdog in that fight as well. And listen, I think Luan Lacerda is a good fighter, but he's very inactive, and I don't really like that. Now, coming up against a Contender Series guy, you never know, because look what just happened to Luke Fernandez last week. Luke Fernandez comes in, beating the brakes off Adolfo Bellato, looking like he's going to put him away, gets hit with one left hook, and gets knocked out cold in the first round. The fight only lasted 2.5 minutes, but it tells you everything you need to know. In most cases, you can't trust the Contender Series guys, especially with the UFC debut. With this fight in particular, I think that if Luan Lacerda gets on top of Hecher Sosa, could be big problems. I expect Luan Lacerda to be the much better grappler. I expect him to have better top position, better ability to float between positions. But I really think that if we get to like the 8-minute mark of this fight, that's where I really think Luan Lacerda is going to start to fall apart. Because he's always good in the beginning. He's pretty decent on the feet, some okay power, good takedowns, good submissions. Very good on the ground, like I said. That's his bread and butter. And if he gets Hecher Sosa there, he can put him in some trouble. But Sosa knows how to grapple. Sosa's a decent grappler in his own right. He knows how to float positions. He knows how to get takedowns. And I think Luan Lacerda is much better from the top position than he is off of his back. And that's something we see with a lot of high-level grapplers. They're very, very good from the top. They're very hard to get off of you. But when they're on their back, they're either going to look to scissor sweep from the armbar position, throw up arm bars, or just look to hold on and stifle you and probably get beat up with some ground and pound. I think that it'll be a tough first round for Luan Lacerda, or I'm sorry, for Hecher Sosa, but I think when we get into the 7 and 8 minute mark, that volume and activity on the feet and the forward pressure is going to start to slow down Lacerda, and the person who's going to take over once the cardio starts to break down is going to be Hecher Sosa. I think he's going to start to land some big shots on the feet. I think he's going to draw out the takedowns of Luan Lacerda. And once those takedowns become more telegraphed and more predictable, that's where I think the striking of Hecher Sosa and the pressure is going to open up. I think he's going to force shots out of Lacerda, get on top, land some heavy ground and pound, and finish him off. I'm going to go Hecher Sosa to beat Luan Lacerda via a third round TKO in this fight. I think the cardio is going to be king, and the pace, pressure, and activity is going to win Sosa this fight. Give me Hecher Sosa, round 3 TKO. Up next, you got a battle in the lightweight division. Again, a battle between Contender Series alum in a fight between Bolaji Oki taking on Manoel Sosa. Now, if you guys don't know Manoel Sosa, he fought a guy on the Contender Series named Christian Perez. Came in as basically a 3-1 favorite. I backed the underdog, Christian Perez, plus 230. Perez dominates him in the first round, takes him down, rides him out. Dominates him in the second round, takes him down, beats him up. Sosa isn't getting up. He can't work up to his feet. But with like a minute and a half left in round 2, that's when, or even it might have been less than that, maybe like a minute left, Sosa finally works his way back up to the feet, and Perez is gassed. And then he just starts unloading hammers, uppercuts, overhands, big hooks. And every time he hit Christian Perez, he dropped him, or he hurt him, he rocked him. But he was also exhausted. And then he went on to TKO him and win that fight. When, if you bet him live, he would have been like plus 400 at that point. But, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Manoel Sosa. But one thing I will say is, man, this guy is built for this division. He's not the tallest guy, but he is compact. There is no fat on that man when he comes into the octagon. He is very, very, very muscular, extremely shredded, and he's strong. Bolaji Oki is going to be the cleaner striker, and I have no doubt about that in my mind. His jab is going to work well. He's going to throw jab and calf kick, follow up with the right hand over the jab. And, I mean, I think Manoel Sosa is going to have some trouble in that opening segment, the opening round. I think the jabs and the calf kicks, the circling, the 3-2, moving around, 1-2 down the middle, jab, calf kick, circle, right hand, left hook, moving around. I think he's going to get beat up for the first round. And I would expect him again to go into round 2 as an underdog, like on the live betting line, because I think Oki's going to be fast and explosive, but I don't think he's going to put him away. I think he might hurt him, but I don't think he finishes him, and I don't think he puts him away. I think when we get into that second round, that's when Sosa's going to start to push forward. He's going to start to get in the face of Oki. He's going to rip those hooks to the body. He's going to come over the top with the right hand. He's going to start to land his own jab, follow up with the right hand, come back with the left hook. And I think you're going to see Oki start to slow down. You're going to see that back foot style of Oki draw out counters that he doesn't want to throw. And I think Manoel Sosa is just going to overwhelm him in the second and third round. I think that the pace and pressure and the power of Manoel Sosa is going to be a big problem. And I could see Bolaji Oki panic wrestling because he doesn't like the pressure and getting pushed back by Sosa. And he's going to have a good first round, in my opinion. Like, I think that Bolaji Oki probably looks very good in the first round. Fast, explosive, throwing big shots, etc., etc. But with this one, I just think that at the end of the day, I have to take the guy who I think is going to have the better cardio. I have to take the guy who I think is going to push in the later portions of the fight. And I have to take the guy who I believe is going to hit harder in a fight that's mainly going to be striking. And he does have the grappling to back him up as well. He has good jiu-jitsu, Kimura sweeps, triangles, chokes, etc. But he looks to hurt you, bomb on you, and beat your ass. And that's why I'm taking Manoel Sosa. And I'm going to take Manoel Sosa to win via a late second round TKO. I just don't think Bolaji Oki is a guy who can come back from adversity. And I'm not saying that to disrespect him. I just think once the train keeps rolling for Manoel Sosa, he's going to put it on Bolaji Oki, and I think he's going to break him. So give me a second round TKO from Manoel Sosa over Bolaji Oki. All right, up next, you got a battle in the welterweight division between Chris Curtis, who's dropping down to 170, taking on Myktybek Orolbai. This is an interesting fight and probably one of the best fights on the card. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that Chris Curtis is a good boxer. He's very good, but the one thing that plagues him is his output and volume is just too low. And usually he can come on in the second and third round. And I believe him to be the much cleaner and sharper boxer than a guy like Myktybek Orolbai. I think he's going to be able to land that left straight. I think his jab's going to work well. And I think the 1-2 down the middle is going to be a solid weapon from Chris Curtis. And I think he's going to be able to put it on him in the boxing ranges. But I think just the pressure of Orolbai, paired with the fact that I believe he can take down Chris. Okay, so I think he can take down Chris Curtis, but I think it's not going to be easy to get Chris Curtis down to the mat. And on the feet, I think that the fighter who has more weapons is actually Myktybek Orolbai. I feel like he might be outboxed, but I think he can land good shots inside the clinch. I think Orolbai can tie up Curtis against the fence, land knees, land elbows, tie up some takedowns. And I think he can compete in the boxing just because I think the output and volume of Chris Curtis is so low. We know from what we saw against Mateusz Rąbecki that, yeah, Orolbai has a problem with southpaws and especially the straight left hand, and that's Chris Curtis's best weapon, the lead right hook or the feint lead right hook to the straight left hand. I think that he's going to get hit with that a lot, but I think he probably can push a higher pace than Chris Curtis in the second and third rounds, and I think that the pace and pressure might just slow down Curtis enough for Orolbai to end up eking out a decision in a very close fight. I think, like I said, Curtis better boxer, cleaner hands, good straight left. We've seen Orolbai have trouble with southpaws, just like Mateusz Rąbecki. But I feel like Orolbai is going to try harder to win, and that's the biggest reason why I'm picking him. He's going to keep pushing forward even if he gets hurt, as long as he can recover. He's going to put Curtis on the back foot. He's going to land kicks to the body. He's going to land knees inside the clinch. He's going to push Curtis against the fence. Even if he doesn't get takedowns, he'll strike off the break, land knees and elbows in the single collar and the tie clinch. He'll look for takedowns. If he gets Curtis down to the ground, I don't think Curtis gets back up. I think he's hard to take down, but I think once you take him down, it's going to be very hard for him to get back up. So I think Orolbai is just going to outwork Chris Curtis over 15 minutes. I think Curtis will have success. I think he'll land the straight left. I think he'll land that lead right hook. I think the jab will be solid, but I think the forward pressure and the output and pace of Orolbai is just going to be enough to outwork Chris Curtis over the 15 minutes. So give me Myktybek Orolbai. Give me Orolbai to win 29-28 unanimous decision over Chris Curtis. All right, next fight up in the middleweight division, you got Brad Tavares taking on Eryk, your boy Anders. This is one I'm going to keep pretty quick because we've seen a lot from these guys, and I think both of these guys are definitely at the tail end of their career. I think the only way that Eryk Anders wins is by knocking out Brad Tavares. But when you think about it, the majority of the time that Tavares is losing, he's losing by KO and he's getting finished. I think Eryk Anders has the power to hurt a guy like Brad Tavares. But if he's not hurting him and knocking him out, I think Tavares is faster than Eryk Anders. I think he mixes up his weapons a lot better than Anders, who mainly just throws boxing combinations. I think Tavares is the cleaner boxer. I think that he moves better. He's got a little bit better defense than Eryk Anders. He throws much better kicks, and I could see him chopping up the lead leg of Anders. And I just think at the end of the day, I think Tavares wants it more. Eryk Anders owns his own gym. He's running like an MMA fitness gym now. I feel like he's much more towards retirement, whereas Tavares, although he might be at the tail end of his career, he's still in the game to get wins and try to become a UFC champion. I don't think Tavares has ever took his foot off the gas in terms of wanting to be the best he can be in his division. And I think Anders kind of has one foot out the door. He beat Kyle Dawkins, but if you remember that fight, there was those big headbutts and everything. And he beat Chris Weidman when, I thought Weidman was going to win, but we know Weidman's pretty washed at this point. Tavares is just, I think, cleaner on the feet. He has more weapons. I think he's going to have better cardio in the second and the third round. He's going to be sharper. He's going to throw more kicks. Anders is going to primarily box, look to push forward, look to tie up Tavares and strike off the break in the clinch. And I just think Tavares wants it more. And I think that there is a big chance that he gets a late finish. I could see a second or third round TKO from Tavares, especially coming off that knockout loss to Christian Leroy Duncan, where we had never seen Anders get knocked out before and he got knocked out cold. I don't think he knocks him out, but I could see a late KO. But I'm going to take Tavares to win by decision. I think he just outworks him, outpoints him, outstrikes him, and is the cleaner fighter over 15 minutes and avoids getting donked on the top of the head by Eryk Anders. So give me Brad Tavares to beat your boy. 29-28 unanimous decision in this fight, and we'll move to the next one. All right, up next, we've got a very interesting fight in the heavyweight division. I actually thought this was the opener of the main card, but I just checked as I was recording this, and I guess it's the last prelim, which makes sense because I think Charles Johnson should be on the main card, or at least that fight should open the main card. But we've got a heavyweight bout between Vitor Petrino taking on Steven Asplund. It seems like the MMA community is pretty torn on this fight, and I get it. You know, Petrino, since coming up to heavyweight, he's got big power. He's a lot slower, but he looks to grapple and wrestle more at heavyweight than he did at light heavyweight. I feel like he just thinks he's a lot slower at heavyweight, so he looks to use his size, weight, and jiu-jitsu advantage. And going up against Steven Asplund, like, he can definitely take him down. get in the top position, land some ground and pound, and look to set up a submission. I could easily see like an arm triangle from Vitor Petrino, just timing Asplund coming in, taking him down, getting on top, landing elbows and hammer fists, beating him up, and then either forcing him to give up his back and rear naked choking him, or landing elbows, causing him to cover up, sticking your head off to the one side, and walking your way into that arm triangle submission. And Petrino's very big and strong at heavyweight. But I'm off the Petrino train, okay? I'm done. I'm done with this guy. I picked him to beat Steven Peterson by knockout. I thought that was going to be the easiest fight of his life. And he did get it. And he landed a vicious uppercut. He knocked him out. But man, that fight was too close for me. And that's actually a training partner of Steven Asplund, who is a very good grappler and a strong wrestler as well. And he got the KO, but again. And then you look at Vitor Petrino fighting Anton Turkalj. He goes life and death with this man. He hurts him a lot. He lands big shots on the feet. But Turkalj hurts him. Turkalj rocks him with a hook. Turkalj takes his back, almost chokes him out. Like, if you're letting Anton Turkalj do that to you, no disrespect to him, but I'm not picking you. So, I'm taking Steven Asplund. I'm taking the underdog. I think that as long as he can stay off the ground, or even if he gets taken down, survive for one round. Survive for one round in this fight. Whether you're taken down, you're on the ground, he's on top of you in the mount. If you could survive for one round, you'll beat the shit out of Vitor Petrino. I think Asplund's forward pressure, his boxing, his output, it can wear down a guy who's going to be a lot slower and sluggish the later that the fight goes, especially in moving up to the heavyweight division. Yes, he's big. Yes, he's strong. Yes, he's powerful. Could he knock out Asplund? Yeah, he definitely can. Can he take him down and sub him and make it look easy? Yeah, he can. But I don't think Asplund's going to allow that to happen. I think Asplund's going to get on that front foot. I think he's going to start to put his jab and his right hand in his face. He's going to start to throw 3, 4, 5 punch combinations. And that's going to start to slow down Petrino and draw out takedown attempts, which will in turn make those easier to defend for Asplund. I think he's going to have a tough first round, but I think when we get into the second and third, I think that the volume striking and the forward pressure of Asplund is going to open up opportunities on the feet, and I just think he's going to break Vitor Petrino down in the later portions of this fight, and I think he's going to win by a third round TKO. Give me Steven Asplund to come out here, weather an early storm, get taken down, get hit with some big shots, look bad in the first round, but to come back, wear down Petrino with his volume and his boxing output, draw out takedowns, defend them, and start to beat him up and finish him in round 3. I'm taking the underdog. Give me today's Steven Asplund to win via third round TKO in this fight. All right, next fight up is in the flyweight division. You got a battle between Charles Energy Johnson taking on Bruno Bulldog Silva. An interesting fight here, man, and I'm just going to come right out and say it. I'm not taking Charles Johnson coming off that knockout in the first round over Alex Perez, and that wasn't even that long ago. Let's check that out first. So, let's look at how long ago did Charles Johnson get KO'd by Alex Perez. That was in January 24th. Bro, he's fighting less than 2 months after getting knocked out cold in the first round. I'm sorry. Like, if this is a full camp, I think Johnson can win, and he probably breaks down Bruno Silva in the later portions of the fight, wears him out, and gets like a third round TKO. But it's not even 2 months after he got knocked out cold. And yeah, he didn't go out, but he got dropped like 4 times. 1 or 2 more punches, he was getting face down, ass up, knocked out. And he already went face down by the way he dropped from Alex Perez. And that was a fight that everybody expected Charles Johnson to come in and win and look very good in doing it. And he just got beat to the punch early in the fight and never recovered. It's not even been 2 months. There's no way he's recovered. He's coming back to try to win. And I'm not calling him desperate, because I actually like Charles Johnson. But I think he's doing this just to try to get the thought of the loss out of his head. And I don't think Bruno Silva's a guy you want to do that with. I really don't. Silva, he might be a guy who can get slowed down, who can get broken down, who can get finished late, who can get hurt later on in fights, and who doesn't have the best cardio. But He's fast, explosive, powerful. He's a technical striker, and he's a decent grappler as well. And with a guy who's coming in with extra durability issues, considering that knockout was only 2 months ago, I'm taking the underdog. I'm taking Bruno Silva. And I'm taking Bruno Silva to win by a second round knockout. Yeah, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Johnson on a full camp without coming off the KO, I think he could slow down Bruno Silva, and I think he could knock him out, probably late second round, third round. But this is not the normal Charles Johnson. This is the Johnson trying to come back to get rid of that last loss, to try to right the wrongs of the last performance. And if this was 6 months after the KO, maybe I'd have a different opinion, but it's not. And he's not going up against a guy who doesn't have concussive power on the feet. I mean, he knocked out a guy in Cody Durden, and I mean, if you look at Durden, he got hit with every shot from Joshua Van and still didn't go down. So we know that this guy has big power. We know that he has concussive power. We know that he's fast. We know he has good uppercuts, good shots on the inside, and good kicks to the body. And he's a decent grappler, and we saw him use his grappling against Hyung Sung Park. So I like Bruno Silva, and I think he knocks out Charles Johnson. I'm going to take Bruno Silva, give me the underdog, plus 145, and I'm going to take him via a second-round knockout over Charles Johnson. This is too fast for him to come back. And, yeah, I still think he could win. Like, if he's able to slow down Bruno Silva, like I said, he can win in the late portions of the second and in the third round with his forward pressure. But I just don't see that happening. This is too quick, and he's fighting a power puncher and a guy who has real knockout power at 125. Give me Bruno Silva, round 2 knockout. All right, up next, a battle in the featherweight division between Marwan Rahiki, making his UFC debut, coming off of that beautiful KO on the Contender Series against Malumbo. I forgot his first name. Taking on Hardwick. Yeah, I got Marwan Rahiki here all day. Hardwick is not going to be able to strike with him on the feet. I don't think Hardwick is going to be able to push high enough of a pace to slow down Marwan Rahiki and be able to take over with forward pressure, volume, and just work on the inside. And I don't think he's going to have success in taking him down and wrestling him. I think Marwan Rahiki is a solid competitor. He knows how to use his length. He knows how to use his reach. You even saw it in the knockout of Malumbo on Contender Series. Frame, elbow, step back, frame, uppercut, hook, landing big knees. Like, I think he's going to destroy the lead leg of Hardwick. I think Hardwick might get a takedown, and people are like, oh shit, here we go. And then I think Rahiki's just going to reverse or work his way back up to the feet. I think he jabs and calf kicks, sets up everything off the lead hand and the rear leg. Jab, calf kick, jab, hook, calf kick, jab, rear teep. And then I think once he starts to hurt that lead leg, he's going to get Hardwick to start switching stances, and that's when I think he's going to open up with kicks to the body, follow up with multi-shot combinations, and I think he's just going to beat the brakes off Hardwick. Could Hardwick win? I mean, you can never count anybody out, and maybe he could push a pace and survive early and slow down Marwan Rahiki, but I like Rahiki, and I think he gets a KO here. I'm going to take Marwan Rahiki round 2 knockout. I think he's going to chew up the lead leg, use his jab, follow up with the right hand, rip shots to the body, tie up in the clinch, knees and elbows, and I think he's just going to pour on a barrage of punches against the fence. Hardwick's going to go down, and that's going to be it. So give me Marwan Rahiki to beat Hardwick. Second round TKO in this fight. All right, next fight up in the light heavyweight division, you got a battle between Iwan the Hulk Cutelaba taking on Oumar Sy. Sy looked good against Brendan Ribeiro. He got on top of him, beat him up, got a TKO. But that's Brendan Ribeiro. And don't get me wrong, I think Cutelaba is at the tail end of his career. And, I mean, he almost arguably beat Modestas Bukauskas. But seeing his last fight that Bukauskas had, where he got knocked out right at the end of the fight by Nikita Krylov, I think we knew that was kind of a gimme fight for Bukauskas. And he got finished and just kind of outclassed in that fight, even on the feet, which is something I don't think any of us were expecting. So that was a good performance from Cutelaba, but he still lost a split decision, but arguably won. In this fight, I think Oumar Sy has a lot of durability issues. Like, every time you hit this guy clean on the chin, it seems to hurt him, rock him, or stumble him. And I think Iwan Cutelaba has a lot of power. But I think the cleaner striker is actually Oumar Sy. I think he has a good jab. measures his distance well, throws a good calf kick, can throw good 1-2s down the middle, and I think he gets a lot of flack for his striking, just a lot of flack in general because of that performance against Alonzo Menefield, where he was a big favorite and then just, I don't know, just didn't really try to win and just got like out-positioned and out-clinched and just didn't work hard enough to get the win, and a lot of people soured on him. But I think he's got the weapons to beat a guy like Cutelaba, who has a good low kick, has some good punches, has a lot of power. He's a good wrestler, but he's not great off of his back. He's really only good from the top position. I think Oumar Sy can get close, tie him up, use some inside and outside trips, drag him to the floor, get on top, and look to set up a submission or land some ground and pound. And I think on the feet, I actually think Oumar Sy is the cleaner striker. He just might not be better defensively, but I also think Cutelaba has a lot of holes in his defense on the feet as well. So I think this is a fight that you should stay away from if you're looking to bet. I think this is a fight that you should just sit back and watch. But I'm going to say Oumar Sy gets a knockout here. I think he's going to be able to land the jab, get behind the jab, throw the calf kicks, and I think he's going to land some good counters. I think he's going to hurt Iwan Cutelaba, get on top, flatten him out, and ground and pound him to a win. So give me Oumar Sy to beat Iwan Cutelaba. I'll take him via a third round ground and pound TKO, but it could be earlier than that. More than likely, it probably is earlier than that. But I could see Cutelaba winning, and like I said, I think Oumar Sy has a little bit of a void in defensive acumen on the feet, so he could definitely get hit and get hurt. We've seen him get hurt in plenty of fights before. But yeah, I think like playing the fight from a betting perspective, I would maybe just take the fight ends by knockout, because I think that it's probably going to be mainly a striking matchup. And even on the ground, I could see ground and pound over a submission. That is going to be the choices that these guys make. So my bet, if I had to bet on the fight, would be just fight ends by KO. But my pick, I'm going to take Oumar Sy. I think he can chop up that lead leg. I think he can use his straight punches on the feet to hurt Cutelaba. And I think if he hurts him, he's going to get on top, flatten him out, and ground and pound him. So give me Oumar Sy, round 2, TKO in this fight. All right, next fight up in the featherweight division, you got a banger between two strikers, an Andre Fili, veteran, UFC veteran, MMA veteran, training out of Team Alpha Male, versus Jose Miguel Delgado, coming off that very, very controversial loss via decision to Nathaniel Wood. I'll just tell you right now, Delgado won that fight. I think he won it, not just won it, I think he won it unanimously. So the fact that the judges gave a unanimous decision to Nathaniel Wood, it's a little crazy to me, but can't cry over spilt milk, so you got to just keep on moving. Andre Fili, you got to give the guy credit. He's been in the UFC for a long time, has a win over Cub Swanson, had that knockout win over Lucas Almeida where people thought he was just going to get destroyed in the first round, and he ends up getting the KO early. And Andre Fili's a good striker. He's very loose on the feet, very flowy. He strikes in a flow state. He's moving, right hand, jab, left hook, right hand, got a good right hand into the lead head kick. He follows up his punches with his head kicks, and I actually think that's the one thing that Delgado is going to have to look out for is Fili finishing off his combinations with head kicks, whether it's to the lead side or the rear side, because Delgado likes to drift off. He'll walk in, move straight on the straight line, and then he'll kind of angle shift off to his left and right, and that's where he'll open up his angles for his long combinations. But I got to be honest, I think this is a firefight, and I think Delgado wins this firefight like 9 out of 10 times. I got to give Fili at least one, because Fili does have a lot of power, and he is a veteran. But I think Delgado's going to come in here and make a statement. I think he puts Andre Fili out in the first round. I really do. I like his long, straight punches. I like the way he drifts off into knees and long knees, especially when he throws his combinations. Just look at how he knocked out Hyder Emil. 1, 2, shift off into the opposite stance. Hook to grab the head and then throw the knee up the middle. 1, 2, hook, boom, and lands it right on the chin. I think that Fili is good at range. He's good at distance, but a lot of times he likes to get in the pocket and swing with guys because he knows that he has decent speed and power. But if he gets on in the pocket and tries to bang it out with Delgado, I think Delgado puts his lights out. I think he can do it with his hands or his knees or his kicks. I think he gets into a brawl with Fili early, and he just hits him with a big shot, lands a big hook, drops Andre Fili and puts him away. Could be a knee, could be a head kick. I think he does it with his hands this time because I just think Fili, he leaves his chin open. He likes to try to counter that rear hand with the lead hook a lot of the time. He'll drift away, throw the lead hook to counter the rear right hand. And I think Delgado he's too straight, he's too crisp. He's too clean with those straight punches. I think he's going to get on the inside. They're going to be throwing, and boom, he's going to slime him with the right hand, drop him, and put him away with ground and pound. Give me Jose Miguel Delgado to win. I'm going to take Delgado round 1 knockout in this fight over Andre Fili to get back on track. All right, co-main event in the women's strawweight division between Amandina Lemos taking on Gillian Robertson. Realistically, I think Lemos can absolutely knock out Robertson on the feet. I don't think she has near the level of striking or the power or the technical skill in the striking of Amanda Lemos. Lemos has better kicks, much better with her punches, big left hooks, big right hands, solid 1-2s down the middle, good leg kicks, good body kicks, but I don't think she's going to stop the wrestling of Robertson. And the one thing you can say on the side of Lemos, if you want to back her, is that she has a very good guillotine. Very good front choke series. She'll go for ninja chokes. She'll go to jump the guillotine off the takedown attempts. And that's something that I think Robertson's going to have to look out for. And that is something I think Robertson's going to get caught in. I think she's going to shoot, and I think you're going to see Lemos jump on that guillotine. But part of me thinks that the game plan of Robertson is going to be to get to the body lock and try to use trips, inside and outside trips, to take down Lemos. And Lemos has strong hips. She's not easy to take down. But once you get her down, she doesn't really have much of anything off of her back. It's hard for her to get up. It's hard for her to look for subs off of her back. It's hard for her to look for sweeps. And I think that she definitely could just get taken down and lose right there. And that's honestly what I'm going to predict. I think she'll survive 1 round, land some big shots on the feet, get taken down, but survive. But you'll see her start to slow down. In the second round, I think the takedowns are going to come easier because Lemos is going to be a little bit slower, and it'll be easier for Robertson to close the distance. I think she's going to get on the inside. I think she's going to go to the body lock. She's going to shuck off to the one side. She's going to use that outside trip to drag her one way, to drag her back, outside trip, take her down, get on top. I think she's going to ground and pound, look to set up a sub. She won't get the sub, ground and pound again. She won't get the sub, keep ground and pounding until she eventually just gives up her back. Gillian Robertson takes the rear naked choke and gets a second round submission. So give me Gillian Robertson to win. I'm going to take her via a second round rear naked choke submission over Amanda Lemos. I like Lemos. I'm a much bigger fan of Lemos, but I just think the grappling and the top pressure and the skill on the ground is way too high for Robertson to lose to Amanda Lemos. So a KO could come, a front choke like a ninja choke or a guillotine could come from Lemos. But I think she gets taken down, worn out, and then eventually submitted. So, Gillian Robertson, round 2, rear naked choke submission. All right, main event time. Featherweight division, Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. Guys. Vallejos is going to beat the shit out of Emmett. I'm sorry. I like Emmett. I picked him to knock out Bryce Mitchell. I've picked him before, don't get me wrong. But normally, if you're historically on the podcast, I pick against Emmett a lot because he's basically just an overhand right and a left hook. And that's the majority of his game. He's got decent footwork, decent forward movement. He's pretty explosive, very fast, very powerful. But it's big looping overhands and a big left hook. And that's the way he fights. I mean, it's not like 3-4 punch combinations. You're lucky to even get like 2 punch combinations out of him most of the time. Sometimes it's usually 2. But when you get to 3 and 4, you really don't get those multi-shot combinations from a guy like Josh Emmett. And against a guy like Kevin Vallejos, yes, he's coming up to a big step up in competition. He just knocked out Giga Chikadze, who's also a guy who's very good, but, the tail end of his career. But, the one thing that Giga has that Josh doesn't is kicks and heavy kicks and kicks to the body. And I think Emmett could hurt him to the body with his boxing. Like, he's still very powerful, don't get me wrong. But I just think that the volume and the boxing of Vallejos is going to just wear down and break Josh Emmett. Emmett's tough. He went 5 rounds with Ilia Topuria. And I think a lot of people are going to look at that and think like, oh, Vallejos doesn't have a chance to put him away. I mean, since he went 5 rounds with Topuria, like, yeah, he beat Bryce Mitchell, but he got absolutely demolished by Yusuf Salal, and then he also got beat up by somebody else. I don't know. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But, like, guys, I cannot pick Josh Emmett. I just can't. He's good. He has a lot of power. He's explosive. He always has the great equalizer. But the question is, can he land the great equalizer and win this fight, which is a big overhand right or a big left hook? And I'm going to say no. I think Vallejos uses that Fili shell and the high guard very well. He's going to pop the jab. I think he's going to chew up the lead leg of Emmett. Emmett's going to try to counter those lead leg kicks with the right hand. But Vallejos is going to be out of the way. He's going to pop the jab, feint, throw the calf kick, jab, 1-2, rip the body, get on the outside, cross, rip the body, 1, 2, 3, uppercut, move, 2, 1, 2, pull 2, jab, calf kick, 1, 2, lead teep, jab, calf kick. I think he's going to tear up the lead leg to slow down Emmett and then just start to put combinations on him. And I don't think he's going to finish him in the first or second round. I'm going to go with a late third round TKO for Kevin Vallejos over Josh Emmett. I think he's going to slow him down with the calf kick, avoid the big shots, probably get hit with a couple, but be able to survive. Start to put that forward pace and pressure on Emmett. Avoid the big counters, pull counter right hand. That's the one thing that Topuria caught him with, was the shoulder roll right hand and the pull counter right hand. I think Emmett is very available for those because of how loopy and wide his punches are when he throws. So I think he's going to pull back counter right hand, left hook. Emmett's going to cover up, pull back, bop, 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 bop. Boom, rip the body, bop, 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 uppercut, pull away, boom, 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 boom. And he's going to just avoid the big counters and put volume on him, break down Josh Emmett, and get a TKO. Give me a late third round TKO for Kevin Vallejos over Josh Emmett in the UFC Vegas 114 main event. All right, that's it for my UFC Vegas 114 predictions and breakdown. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and smash the notification bell for all future uploads. I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out.